Hey man, real talk, I'm mad excited. I'm mad proud too. I'll tell you why. Here's what I'm doing my hair right now, so that's why you're looking whatever. Detangling. Anyways, I have this friend. And from when I first met them, wasn't like any other friendship. It was I could never describe it. I was always like, what is it? Like low key more than just friends, but also definitely not like not just like oh more than just friends. Like nah, it wasn't that. But I also like wasn't just friend. Like it was something, but I also wasn't like all the way there. Like I don't. It was weird, and it wasn't like in the middle either. It was like kind of in the middle, but like off to the side. It was weird. It was like I don't even like I could never even like I could feel it, but I couldn't describe it. I couldn't conceptualize it. I never knew. Honestly, I feel like they were the same way because it's like they have people that I'm trying to align my eyes with the little crosses that I'm seeing on my screen. Um, yeah, they have. I mean, they have people that they're more than friends. The people that they're in relationships with, whether it be romantic or sexual, they have. But we're not that. Like it wasn't that. It wasn't romantic. Like I would know because I don't dabble in the hormonal arts, but I could tell that they didn't see me the same way that they saw their romantic partners. I knew that much, but they also didn't see me the same way they saw their friends. It was like, huh? It was like, what? Huh? Huh? It was like when you eat durian for the first time and you're like, what is that? Like, that's strange. That's like real different than that doesn't really I don't really understand what it is exactly that I'm experiencing right now. Like it's so weird. But after a lot of thinking, so one day we were hanging out, you know, as we do on occasion. Um, and me, I'm a scientist. You know, I identify as an engineer, but within the engineer, I think within every engineer is a little bit of a scientist. So the scientist in me said, "Well, we don't like stagnation. Nah, stagnation, unacceptable. We don't like stagnation." So I was like, "Fuck it, I'll try something new." So I was trying to be more physically affectionate, but it wasn't quite right. I don't know. I mean, it was cool. It was definitely better. It was definitely more accurate. Being more open physically, being softer, contact. But I don't know. It wasn't coming from the right place. It wasn't so much the exact actions. It was that it wasn't coming from the right place. I didn't know where to push it from. Where from my psyche, where from my soul should I focus my intention? I couldn't. I was just like, mm. And after that day, when we were more physically intimate than we had been in the past, I was my emotions were destroyed, wrecked, all over the place, up and down. I was like, I don't even know what's going on. Like this and that. Like I'm in love or I hate you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I want to kill you. Like I don't. It didn't even make sense. I was like, I tried writing out. I tried writing them a letter. I wasn't gonna send it to them, but I tried writing them a letter just to see, hypothetically, if I just had no filter and I just wrote whatever I thought and wrote whatever I felt like telling them, what kind of insights would I get? No insights. Complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. I was like, what the fuck did I just write? Like, didn't even make any sense. Um, Emotional delay or distress or whatever for like 3 days after. And even a couple days after those first 3 days, which were just I couldn't do homework, couldn't function, I couldn't focus. I was just my emotions were just super extreme, and I was like, bro, we didn't even do that much. Like, we didn't even do anything. Like, it wasn't even that serious. Why am I all over the place? I've done way more with other people and been way less emotional. So what's going on, man? Like, why are you doing this to me, body? Like, could you explain to me, mind, why you're making me feel all these things and not actually clearly explaining to me what it is that I'm feeling? I don't understand what I'm feeling right now. Like, it's just, I don't know. It was weird. It was a lot of different things going on. Whatever the case, I stuck with it. I considered bottling up my emotions. I considered just shutting it off and saying, look, man, this is a waste of time. We got to move on, bro. We got work to do. We have other things that we should be focusing on. We're not going to invest more effort into trying to figure out these emotions that make no sense. But I was like, no, because that would be stagnation, and I'm not a part of stagnation. So I chose to wait it out, chose to keep going. I finally figured it out. After a lot of thought, I was watching this movie, I was watching this romance movie, and I was like, kind of makes sense, but also, nah. I was watching this TV show. It's Korean, but I wasn't watching subbed or dubbed. I was just watching it straight Korean and not understanding what anyone was saying. And I'm like on the third episode, and these episodes are like an hour long. So I'm really just watching these people just speak Korean, and I saw like I really think that doing that was helped, because that took my mind from thinking like speech and seeing relationships based off of what people say to each other. And because I couldn't understand what anyone was saying, the language part of my brain was like, fuck it, bro. Why are we watching these people speak Korean? I'm just finna dip. But there's a lot more to a relationship than just the words. There's a lot more to human interaction than just words and what you say things are. So once I understood that, and I was watching this Korean show, I took that same frame of thought of not looking for the words, and I applied it to the thought process that was trying to figure out exactly how I should define this relationship between me and this other person. Because that thing had been running on words. It had been trying to figure out, okay, well, based off of what I said this, and then this meant this, and therefore this and that, and I feel like this. But I was like, no. I got something new for you. I got a new little fuel for you that you could try out. I got a new fuel for you that you might like. I was watching this Korean. So I fed it to the processor, and I went in, and I was doing some processing, and I was like, hey, and I was like, hey, and I was like, yeah, and I was like, okay. So as I was working the machines, as I was working it for a little bit, I finally figured it out. A relationship, we're not friends. And we're not more than just friends. The relationship itself is an art piece. I never even considered it. But when you frame it like that, when you frame the relationship as the expression itself, and the sake of the relationship is like, the relationship is an expressive piece. Like, that is what it is. I mean, like, of course, all relationships are expressive, blah, 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 blah. But not like, this is like, that's the point of the relationship, is it's an art piece. Never understood it. I'll give you an analogy, a comparison. I would say that the relationships that me and this person has, that relationship is to my other friendships as poetry is to prose. Prose is like novels and newspapers and stuff. You know how poetry is like, I mean, it's words, right? So you might be thinking like poetry, a novel, newspaper, it's all the same thing. Nah, poetry is distinctly different. Comes from a very different place when you're writing poetry than when you're writing a novel or when you're writing news. Very different. That's why it's poetry and it's prose. So it's the same thing with our relationship. When I'm friends with other people, it's more like prose. Like it's up here. It's up here. It comes from the brain, and it's like I'm talking to you, and you're talking to me, and we're like exchanging ideas and thoughts. But when it comes to the relationship that we have, it's comes from here. Comes from here. Some people's relationship goes lower. This is what I would call more than just friends, where it goes down there. That's a little different. That's a little different. It wasn't quite that. It wasn't quite that. That's you know, that's I don't even know what that is in the analogy. There's poetry, there's prose. I guess sexting would be the next best thing. Sexting is not, it's neither prose nor poetry. It's just straight up like what I don't know, bro. The analogies are not perfect. Whatever the case. No, this is just a new hypothesis. Hypotheses are always new. So there's probably some kinks that need to be worked out. But I've known this person and we have had an interaction for years now. Like 4 or 5 years. I've never been able to conceptualize it until now. Displaying it as an expressive piece. Has never, like, that is, it feels correct. Like, it just makes sense. Like, you know when things just make sense? And it's like, it just makes sense. Like, it just makes sense. I know a lot of stuff I'm saying is vague because I like to be vague, because giving specific details gives random strangers on the internet too much information about my personal life. And especially people who see this who actually know who I am, you know. I'm just not a fan of putting my information out there on the internet, but hey man, if you have a relationship out there in your life and you can't really understand what it might be, maybe it's an art piece. Maybe it's poetry. So I'm going to keep talking because I like to end on double O's or 3 zeros. Anyways, man, I'm just glad that I don't have to churn this over in my head like I had to the last week. Because I was like, it's just so painful, bro. It's just so much I'm not an emotional guy. So when I have a bunch of emotions, it's like, ugh.